Yeah.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi Achint. My apologies for being late. वो अननोन नेटवर्क धारी ने कुछ अटैक कर दिया था हमारे ऊपर, बट आज हम थोड़ा उससे भी लड़ेंगे. बट सबसे पहले सर जैन दुष्यंत का नमस्कार करते हैं, वेलकम करते हैं शो के अंदर, जो हमको थोड़ा सा अपना रिएक्शन देंगे अबाउट दिस फायरिंग इंसिडेंट विच इज हैपेंड. ये कोई वन ऑफ इंसिडेंट है जो होता रहता है, 3-4 हो चुके हैं सीज फायर के बाद, या फिर इसका कुछ हिडन मीनिंग है? मुनीर का क्या गेम है? क्योंकि अफगानिस्तान भी एक तरफ से इनको स्क्वीज कर रहा है, बोल रहा है भाई साहब वी डोंट रिकॉग्नाइज यू एनीमोर. कहता जी आपका पासपोर्ट वीजा हमको पता ही नहीं है. उनके एक बड़े मिनिस्टर ने ये स्टेटमेंट डाला है. सो देयर इज अ लॉट हैपनिंग इन दैट एस्पेक्ट. एंड ऑब्वियसली पाकिस्तान की एक कैपेसिटी है टू क्रिएट केओस विद इन भारत. ठीक है, और उस वो चीजें हम हमेशा देखते रहते हैं. सो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दीज थ्री थिंग्स एंड थोड़ी सी पॉलिटिक्स इनसाइड पाकिस्तान. सो नमस्कार सर, वेलकम टू द शो. प्लेजर टू हैव यू ऑन द प्लेटफॉर्म सर.
Thank you, Adi. Good to be back again. As far as the situation goes, everything is linked to the internal situation of Pakistan, right? So the US visit by Munir kind of set the stage what is to be done in Pakistan. Munir, like a good, obedient person, came back and started planning out the future of Pakistan. He had made a game plan to ensure that people favorable to him come to power. However, probably in my calculation, he misread the public opinion grossly. He thought
बहुत
probably
बुरी
if
तरह
he's
से.
able, he thought probably if he's able to somehow debunk PTI, then the others who would be there in the political fray will get the majority. One of them would have got the majority. Of course, he wanted Nawaz Sharif to be the person who got the majority, but that didn't happen. So, somewhere in the middle of the elections, he probably realized that he needs to set the game right. And for that, possibly there were some riggings done overnight in the when the results were being calculated, or when the votes were being calculated. It is at that time that you had no declaration of results in between, and then thereafter suddenly the results started trickling in slowly, to create an impression that it was a free and fair election, and that PTI, although the largest party, was not up to the majority mark. Plus, they were all independents, supposedly supported by PTI. And the other largest party, of course, then PMLN, would automatically get the chance to form the government. And so to the world, it looked like as though Pakistan is undergoing a very, very free and fair election in a very good democratic setup. And you couldn't have asked for anyone better than any country better than Pakistan to be democratically following principles of democracy. Unfortunately, on the same day, there was an index of democracy which got released, in which they slipped to 11 positions down, and from a hybrid state, they have been declared as an authoritarian state. That means uh, someone has read the game quite clearly, and it is now recognized as a virtual dictatorship. I won't say it's not dictatorship, but authoritarian. That means a person, one entity which is there, which is ruling the roost, and we all know which is that agency. It's obviously Pak Army and its establishment, which is also known as ISI. However, the internal situation in Pakistan is not a very happy situation. Everybody knows about it. Everybody is talking about it, possibly becoming, leading to a Bangladesh type of a situation. And obviously, the regions which are on the periphery of Pakistan are likely to, split away. So, what does Munir do? So Munir has to divert the attention of the internal public. There is large scale PTI cadres which are on the street. They are being fired upon also at number of places. So somewhere this entire internal unrest has to be diverted by external activities. So So lo behold, we have suddenly the IB sector getting activated. We call it as, I mean, we call it as working boundary. Some these guys call it as working boundary. As far as we are concerned, it's an IB, and this sector gets activated whenever there is a little bit of uh, pressure on the LC side. So what they do is they take a pot shot on the BSF, that is our BSF, which is deployed in this particular sector on the IB, essentially in BOPs, and then you have a bout of duels which take place. If you remember 2014, if all of you take your mind back, in 2014 the LC sector was quiet, but the IB sector, when India was going in for elections, exactly the same, around the same time frame, March, April, May, I was in fact in that area, and I had to contend with almost working boundary being activated very regularly, very frequently by the Pakistanis, as also attempts of infiltration and terror activities inside Jammu. I mean, Jammu area. I am not talking of the. So some kind of a similar pattern is being followed for the 2024 elections. So generally, it is seen that the Pakistanis, even if there is nothing wrong happening in their part of the world, they interfere into our elections, especially our elections. Now that they are themselves facing a crisis of existence, I would put it that way, कि इनका तो वजूद खतरे में है, ऐसी हालत में Munir had probably no other choice but to quietly activate the IB sector, which is Samba, Jammu, that belt. Now, this belt, first of all, is also very prone to infiltration by terrorists. So, they are probably going back. Remember Pathankot operations, the attack on Pathankot airbase, etc. All that took place through the this particular sector. The infiltration took place from this sector. So clearly indicates a linkage between elections and elections in India and internal unrests or internal existential problem in Pakistan, whether it is economic, whether it is political, whether it is diplomacy. I think they're failing on every count. And to top it all, this time they're also facing problems externally on their western sector, as also internally across the Iranian border, with Balochistan becoming very, very active along with the KPK, that is KP province. You yourself mentioned that uh, the uh, uh, the the Afghani government has declared Durand as a fake line, and it does not recognize any passports, visa, etc. for crossing. They say that we can cross at will. It's not a boundary. In fact, even if you go into history, Afghanistan never recognized Durand as a boundary. They always said it's a reference line. There's a difference between a boundary and a reference line. So therefore, they have very deep connectivities across the Durand line, and that is why you find that the KP area is so unstable that the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan rules the roost in that particular belt. And now with Pakistan, Imran Khan's government being likely to take oath in KP because they have got the majority, they don't have to depend on anyone. So therefore, it will be now hand in glove. That area is going to be totally, I would say, out of control of the Pakistan central government or Pakistan army. Balochistan has never been in the past 2.5 years. They have seen Balochistan insurgency rising to levels where it is considered quite unmanageable by the Pakistani forces. In fact, so much so that in the global terrorism index, BLA, that is the Balochistan Liberation Army, is now rated as the fastest growing terrorist organization. They refer to them as terrorist organization in India. I would say that they are fighting for the independence of their country. Basically, they are fighting for freedom to to make Balochistan as an independent state, possibly the next Bangladesh, in my view. That's the way it appears, because one province which is absolutely detached from Pakistani's central government influence, and that is Baluchistan. Amongst all the four, Baluchistan, KP, Gilgit Baltistan, POK. Why I am saying so is because in GB and POK, Pakistan Army's presence is very, very heavy. And we also know that the Chinese are also there in large numbers. About some people, I mean, I had covered this a long time back in one of the programs, that possibly around 30,000 is the rough figures of Chinese presence in the Gilgit Baltistan and the area of POK. So therefore, not POK but Gilgit Baltistan, basically because the Chinese infrastructure which they have created as part of CPEC is located in that area, and they depend heavily on the electricity which is being produced from here and the other resources which are now being generated from Gilgit Baltistan being pushed back into China. So with all these overall internal and external situations, I think Munir is left with no choice but to somehow cobble up some kind of a government, that is internally, and externally create certain situation which will bring the people of Pakistan into a direction which is looking outwardly, and therefore they will become united internally and forget about the ongoing crisis, political crisis which is being created and which has put the Pakistan army into a some kind of a, I would say, shame, because Pakistan army till date was always in control of internal situations. At least people used to say that if there is one place where Pakistan army always emerges victorious, that is over their own people. Unfortunately, this time their own people have dished them, and so that is the ultimate of Pakistan army's loss of influence as far as Pakistan is concerned. So, in my view, yes, whatever is happening in our country in proximity to Pakistani border and line of control, we can definitely safely, I would say, circumstantially associate with hands of Pakistan in it, whether it is the unrest of the farmers, or whether it is the I won't say that they are directly dealing with. They may be also in hand in glove with the other agencies which are there. Deep state, which we international deep state, which we keep talking about. So those kind of forces are again active, and it has been proven many times over that a lot of foreign hand is there in these kind of protests which happen in the country, and evidence to that effect sooner or later emerges, right? And there are, if you go by these various social media posts which are coming out, you find that there are some deep linkages as far as this is concerned, because you see, why is it localized only to Punjab? The country comprises of other so many states. There are farmers all over, and people have come out with proper logic to say that you know the demands are, some of the demands are very artificially generated, and so therefore, in my view, I think there is a deep hand of external agencies, and Pakistan could be the conduit through which all this is being done, or Pakistan is the proxy which is doing this, and Munir is playing the game because Munir has no choice, right? Especially after what has happened in the elections, I take it as a big farce of an election. Not that others are saying so, but the way it has been done. I mean, how can you have videos coming out with army personnel entering the booths of counting booths, and then throwing out the agents and manipulating the results? Some people say that there are two forms, form 45 and form 47, which is actually there. So form 45 is the original vote counts, and form 47 is thereafter the unaccounted votes, etc., are taken into account, and then the final results are given. So some say that if Form 45 results are to be counted as per Form 45, the figures are 180 odd seats, which is majority on their own. They don't even need the uh, the the reserve or nominated seats which are for which are now required if PMLN has to form a government with support or with the outside support of Bilawal. You see, even if they form the government, Pakistan army realizes that this is going to be a very, very unstable government. Some say that Nawaz Sharif has lost out in this, but I have a different take. My take is that Nawaz Sharif doesn't want to head this government, which is a ragtag government, where you have to depend on Bilawal Bhutto of all the people, who's probably considered as quite immature in terms of political experience. Plus, you have to gather support of smaller parties, small, I mean, with 10 seats, 5 seats, 25 seats, and then depend on the nominated members to finally reach the magic figure of majority. So therefore, the life of this government was going to be in any case a suspect. So why should Nawaz Sharif head a government and bring bad name? As such, he has had enough bad name in the past. He's been prime minister 3 times, and almost all 3 times he has been unceremoniously taken out of the government. So therefore, he didn't want probably the fourth time to follow the same route. So what best way to do is to sacrifice his younger brother. I mean, I'm looking at it from a different perspective altogether. बाकी लोग तो बोलते हैं कि नहीं नहीं, शाहबाज शरीफ ने बाजी मार ली। नहीं, मैं बोलता हूँ शाहबाज शरीफ तो बलि का बकरा बन गया वो. This is good for the army, but because army can then twist Shehbaz Sharif in whatever way they want. Munir can take another 3 year term like Bajwa. He will tell Shehbaz Sharif, भाई तुम मुझे 3 साल का एक्सटेंशन दो. 1.5 साल उसने कर लिया है. एक साल आई थिंक ऐसी कुछ उसका बचा, 3 years tenure होता है उसका. So another 1.5 years down the line, he will take another 3 year extension. 6 years he is safe and secure as far as chief of Pakistan army is concerned. So he is in power, and thereafter he will find a safe haven either in US or Dubai or any other part of the country and go out of the country, which has been the trend for all the Pakistani chiefs in the past. They're all living away and possibly even dying out there at wherever they select as the country of choice where they spend their rest of the life. So what I'm trying to say is that the situation as of today in Pakistan seems to be that army is trying to buy time by I mean, by facilitating a government which is likely to be unstable, riddled with internal contradictions by disparate groups coming together to make a government. Bilawal, the fact that he wants to support from outside clearly indicates that he knows that the government is not going to survive much. So he's waiting in the wings to take over as the prime minister once this government falls, because then the next option available to army is Bilawal only. You can't have PMLN again being called for forming the government. As far as Imran Khan is concerned, he's going to continue to create chaos and confusion and problems through his supporters, through his, I mean, the social media. All of you are aware, it's a very, very powerful tool nowadays, and you can create waves in public through technology. Holographically, also, you can create uh, total technological technology driven perception management. Although he's in the jail, so they can't actually do a holographic projection, but if he goes out on payroll or something, I bet he would be projected all over in every rally through his holographic images and trying to incite the public. Whether he'll do it so openly is a question which one can debate, because his life would be then under grave danger. He may also be eliminated like the others who have been eliminated in the past. So therefore, I think he will keep himself below that benchmark of not exciting the Munir gang so much that he's forced to take a drastic step against him. But he will continue to continue to create problems for Munir and the government which is going to come up in the center. Essentially, playing the victim card, and also now he has a very, very solid reason that the public actually supported him. But more importantly, you must understand that he will have a government of his choice in one of the provinces, and that is KPK. When you have a government, then you have access to funds, resources, support, right? And with the TTP, and with them possibly, if they join hands with TTP, then Pakistan's hands are full. So what do they do? India bashing. That's the best way to unite a nation like Pakistan, which was created. I was hearing the show of General Atta Hasnan. He very rightly said so, that Pakistan was a country created without forethought, without vision, without any concrete way ahead as to what nation that would be. It did not get a chance to have statesmen coming to lead it. Immediately after the, I think after 4 5 years, we had, in fact, Liaquat got eliminated long time back. Then within 10 years, you had Ayub Khan taking over, and thereafter it was series of military rules only. So Pakistan never got a chance to actually become a state. It remains a chaotic state, and it actually depends on its survival, depends on existence of India. Let me just tell you, if today India is not there, let me tell you, Pakistan will disappear. They will all fight amongst themselves and say goodbye and become independent states even before. So their existence depends on India, because that is the only way they can divert the attention. So these guys come up with strategies such as bleeding through thousand cuts by Ziaul Haq, भूखा रहूंगा नंगा रहूंगा लेकिन न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब बनाऊंगा बेनजीर, सॉरी, जुल्फिकार अली भुट्टो. I mean, you do not even bother about your people, you do not bother about your economy. You just want to compete with India, which is a nation of such a large uh, geographical area, with such a large people potential, with knowledge base which is possibly now comparable to the best in the world, even now and even earlier also. I mean, even if you look at our civilizational knowledge of India, I mean, it was one of the best in the world right from beginning. It was only in this temporary period of, invasions and foreign rule that we went behind, possibly 500 years back. But now we are back again where we should be, and it's just a matter of time before India really takes its position in the Committee of Nations as one of the leading powers, right? So Pakistan can only dream now, and try to survive by doing some India bashing. That's the way I look at it. The fate of Pakistan. Uh, Break it will. When it will break, that of course time will tell. Um, Events are going to actually work faster than they expect. The way political situation is, the way political, economic, and diplomatic situation of Pakistan is today, and people have started ignoring them. Like the West Asia, Middle East, they don't even talk about Pakistan yet. After I think 4 5 years, one may have to tell them, hey, there's something happening in Pakistan, and the king of UAE might just say, what, which Pakistan, where is it? That kind of a thing. That nuclear thing is also not anymore giving them that traction which they used to get earlier. So I think discussing Pakistan itself is now become a, I would say, a waste of time.
I agree, sir. Discussing the situation inside Pakistan is quite a waste of time. But what effect Pakistan can have on us is a important thing, because that to me is dangerous.
So
Because
that's why I say, that when you corner a cat, right? When you corner a cat and it has nowhere else to go, it bounces back on you.
Yeah.
knowing fully well that it might get hurt, that it might get beaten back, it might get bashed up, it might die. But as they say, it's an animal instinct. Offense is the best form of defense when you are ambushed. So Pakistan today is ambushed by its own faults. But then how does it react? It can do nothing against China. It can do nothing to America. The only person, the only target which is acceptable inside Pakistan to everyone, whether whether he's a common Pakistani or a politician, is if something is done to India, or if India is seen as doing something inside Pakistan. And that is why you'll find, oblique references being given, like when the Iran Pakistan talks were taking place, after the both sides had attacked each other inside their countries on the supposedly terrorist basis. They alluded to a third country's role in Balochistan. You can read it, whether which was that third country. They did not mention the country, possibly because keeping the interest of Iran in mind, or keeping the interest of Pakistan in mind. Either way, so both of them avoided the naming of a country, which is part of diplomacy. In any case, everybody tries to not pinpoint by name, so that tomorrow they have a way to get out of it. In case if something happens, they can always say that I never told which country it is. So what I'm trying to say is that outward reactions are very much possible, and since its army is still the ninth powerful army, well, I was quite, in fact, General Bhatia brought this out in the tweet which he had, that under that ninth powerful army, the picture was of instrument of surrender being signed by Niazi with with the Indian army commander, who was Western Eastern Army commander, uh, at in the Eastern Theater.
It's a
So
joke.
so I don't know whether I have done a tweet saying that, is it sarcastically done, or is it deliberately done? So one can read it out, what must have been the intent of the guy who prepared that particular report, as to it couldn't find any other photograph other than the 1971 surrender ceremony. So and stating, boasting about Pakistan being the ninth most powerful country, army in the world, armed forces in the world. So such a country is expected to take action if its hard power is worthwhile. It does have hard power. We should not deny the fact that Pakistan army today has that wherewithal to finger people, and therefore till they have that capability, they will not allow Pakistan to disintegrate so easily, and hence they will indulge in the activities. Anti-India activity is their favorite pastime, because whenever they do something against India, the world reaction is not very vociferous. If you've noticed, I mean, few odd comments here and there. Somebody, some friend of yours just saying not done correctly. I mean, it's condemned and whatever it is, unless their people are affected, which happened in Mumbai, right? Unless that happens, if it is a purely India-Pakistan kind of an activity which takes place along our borders, I mean, tell me how many people would have even bothered to look at the IB firing which took place yesterday?
How many people looked at Pulwama? How many people
That's
looked
what
at
I'm saying.
Uri? How many people looked
It,
at Pathankot?
it's only internal. It's only internal, and nobody really has bothered to condemn Pakistan. So much so that every time we want to get this guy Azhar Mahmood declared as a terrorist, the Chinese have stepped in and stalled the process. So that is why I'm saying Pakistan, as of now, because of its geostrategic location, because of its strong military power, I'm saying strong by comparison. I'm not saying that it is powerful enough to dislodge, I mean, to do anything serious to India. As far as India is concerned, we have the capability to deal with Pakistan quite effectively, comprehensively, I would put it that way. It's only with China that we will have to undertake some special efforts to ensure that they do not undertake any misadventure across our territory. So keeping these things in mind, I think we should be prepared for internal disruptions, some terror attacks, heating up of the line of control, heating up of the IB, as also internal political unrest being fueled by Pakistan. And of course, every country has shades of people inside it. We can't say that everybody is of the same shade. So therefore, there are people who can be exploited to support external agencies in creating internal problems with inside Pakistan, inside India. So that, in nutshell, is what is happening here.
No,
And
it's very, very, I would say it's a very erudite, explanation of what the situation is, because we are not scared, but we are worried about it. ये
yeah,
गधे हैं, कुछ बेवकूफी करेंगे, and we don't want that. At the end of it, India as a country doesn't want a battle right now. This is the last thing that is there on our radar, is to fight a war.
see, in
Uh,
2014, in 2014, in the same area where the firing took place, Modi was going for a political rally in Udhampur, right? And these guys infiltrated from this same area. We intercepted them and killed all four of them. They had huge amounts of RDX, and they had almost hijacked a car, and they were moving. Later on, we found out they were going toward Udhampur to actually create chaos in the Udhampur rally. Now, how can
yep.
you deny? And they were all stamps of a Pakistani involvement on them. The kind of ammunition which they had, the kind of stuff which they were wearing, they were all ex-Pakistan.
Mm.
So obviously, and that was the heat of electioneering, and we have still not declared the elections, and they've started activating the IB. Imagine what is going to happen once the elections are declared. So how much careful we have to be now, especially along our eastern frontiers, western frontiers, is the. I mean, we can't ignore it at all. And because of the technological improvements and enhancements and the kind of capabilities which people can bring on you because of the technology, such as handheld these drones, etc., you can strike at a place where you are not there and disappear. You're getting my point?
Yep.
I really don't have to actually infiltrate physically as a terrorist. I come few 300, 400, 1 odd kilometer, 2 kilometers inside, launch my drone, do some attack on some important facility of ours, and get back. How do you prevent that? And for that, there is a need for a integrated approach. We can't be now in penny pockets, BSF, army, everybody, all resources of our, whether they are technical resources, whether they are aerial surveillance resources, whether they are satellite ISR resources. I think we have to be geared up now along our frontiers to see that things are known to you before they are deployed, whether it is the Nepal border, whether it is the. You see, we should not be lying complacent on borders which we feel are oh, Nepal se to. The IC 814 took place from Nepal. So to say that some area is safe as far as India is concerned, I'm sorry, Mumbai took place from maritime boundaries. There are so many civilian freighters, uh, civilian vessels. I'm talking of merchant vessels which are floating around. What stops them from disguising them in a merchant vessel coming close to your third country flag, coming close to your coastline, and launching these guys. They also got commandos. They launch them, they create some confusion inside your country, deep inside our country. And such people come in to kill and die. They are not looking at exfiltrating, or they're not looking at running away from there. So possibilities are immense, and therefore, I think it's time for us to be on a 100 200% alertness, especially up to the run up of elections of India, the largest elections in the planet on the planet.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of uh, you know the there's a lot of activity that is being done on our side as well. April, there's a huge exercise which is being planned.
Yeah.
Abhi to kya wo, there's another Vayu Shakti display which is happening. Um, the kind of
You
weapons
see,
that are being
you see
put across is
these activities create deterrence,
yep.
right? But a nation which is now desperate may not be looking at these. It may be looking at the gray zone areas where they can straight away get away with the premise that neither they have anything to do with it, nor they are involved in it. Okay, we keep talking of the unknown gunmen. So therefore, they are also. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, this gray zone area is a very, very nebulous area which can be activated by any country. I mean, Canada suddenly started becoming anti-India by Niger, and then SFJ in America. So any country can get back at you through such like activities, and in election times, it's possibly the most common thing to do. हमने तो नहीं किया यार, फार्मर्स तो तुम्हारे हैं, बंदे तुम्हारे हैं, मैं हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We are doing nothing.
Plausible deniability.
Not plausible, actually, almost acceptable denial by everybody. Look, what are the Pakistani interest in it? So they would be targeting such activities where the invisible hand will not be seen by anyone. In fact, you can't even
That's
link to them. You can't even
yeah,
link it to them.
yeah.
So that's the kind of threat which we should be looking at as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Awesome, sir. Let's get into some questions from the audience. Guys, जरा लाइक करो जबरदस्त तरह से वीडियो को सब्सक्राइब करो चैनल को मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली या स्प्रेड द वर्ड अबाउट डेफ टॉक्स 160,000 we have crossed all courtesy your likes and of course wonderful and very very erudite views of people like General Dushyant and of course sir as well. Sir has been by the way associated with the channel from the get go, so uh, you know proud to have sir on the platform. Guys, like करो सब्सक्राइब करो चैनल को एंड प्लीज ऑल्सो सब्सक्राइब टू द सेकंड चैनल विच इज कॉल्ड डेफ टॉक्स क्लिप्स. उसके अंदर आपको छोटी छोटी क्लिप्स मिलेंगी ऑन सिचुएशन रिगार्डिंग विच आर रेलेवेंट टू टुडे बिकॉज जो चीजें हमने काफी हिस्ट्री में और काफी इधर उधर बोली हैं you will see what how it kind of connects with each other. So please do that and you can contribute towards me using the QR code या फिर आप PayPal contribution कर सकते हैं for those of you staying outside the country या फिर आप super stickers और super chats भेज सकते हैं. Let's see. Venkata Narasimhan, thank you so much for becoming a member. Atul ji, thank you so much for the contribution. You said you want to expose something. They want to expose something. Salute to Modi ji and his team. So let me just explain this, sir. What I am saying is these games which are happening right now are being made to happen, have been led to happen because obviously you're going to come out and expose something at the end. And that's what I have seen in the protests in the past some time, in the past 2, 3 protests that have happened. That a big factor, which is the anti-India factor within these things connected to Pakistan and many other places, has been exposed. So I presume the way this is being handled as well, कुछ बड़ा बाहर निकलेगा इसके बाद. Your comments, sir.
You see, whenever something like this happens, the country which is being targeted, I'm not talking in terms of India or any other. I'm talking, suppose something is happening against a particular country which is not in its interest. The agencies of that country are not sleeping idle. not sitting idle, right? They would be looking at the sources of such events, although it has happened in the past, and you've seen even in the past, connections were found ultimately. So I'm sure there are people working at it, trying to find the root cause why this has suddenly come up. Till now, there was no such thing, and suddenly, we have the farmers' protest coming back again into the center stage. So they would be looking at the people who are responsible for it, not the superficial, not the guys who are the front face, the guys who are in the back, the guys with the invisible hand, which we are talking about. Those are the exposures which will take place.
And that's very interesting because each one of these can be taken as a crisis or an opportunity.
Yeah.
तो आप दोनों तरह से देख सकते हो.
The Chinese never have a thing called. They don't have a word called danger or crisis. They have only a word called opportunity, which is Waichi. The Chinese word is Waichi,
It's
which
that game
means
also, no?
which means that even if there is a crisis, actually there is an opportunity in the crisis.
True.
So the worst of crisis is an opportunity, is the way they look at it. So why not us?
Absolutely, sir. Rahul says, I think it's because of our diplomatic games. ISI can smell POJK and GB slipping out of their hands. I'd add Balochistan as well in this. Does China know about CIA's final outcome on Balochistan? CPEC is doomed forever.
Look, if we were to say that the Chinese don't know the US game, I think we are fooling ourselves. The Chinese are well versed in the art of the statecraft, right? They have a fully well developed intelligence agency, both military security agency as well as at their national level. So these guys are also fully aware of what the US is playing the game. Then accordingly, they also take steps. They also take steps, and that is why you find that CPEC, there is no more inputs being put into CPEC. CPEC has already been dumped by Chinese. Do you see any additional investments being done in CPEC? No, they are just trying to retain whatever they have been able to invest. They are trying to salvage as much as possible from there, right? They have not they have not excused the loan. They've only rolled over the loans. So Chinese will also extract their pound of flesh, whether it is in the form of areas or territories in GB or somewhere else. They will extract their pound of flesh. It's now for India as a challenge what we should do about it, because that's an area which is a tri-party dispute now. Virtually, it's become a tri-party dispute.
It is.
With the ceding of Sakshgam, it's actually a tri-party dispute.
Absolutely. SN says, barring independence, different parties dominating separate provinces, will this pave a way for future distribution amongst respective fiefdoms after the
Very,
eventual split of Pakistan?
you see, these trends were already coming up. I mean, we have been talking in all channels, whether it is on a YouTube channel or mainstream channel. I would now put the other way around, that YouTubes are the mainstream and the mainstreams have become YouTubes in terms of impact on the people. But the messages which were going on is that the periphery is getting out of control of Punjab, Pakistan, right? Whether it was Gilgit Baltistan, whether it was POK, KPK, Balochistan, or Sindh, it had to reflect in the voting pattern, and that is what they were trying to, rig. The Pakistani army was trying to rig that up. Unfortunately, they couldn't do anything in KPK because KPK was would have been too far obvious that they have really rigged the elections. So everywhere else they managed to rig Punjab. So what I'm trying to say is that what is happening on ground, what people are seeing on ground, will reflect in the elections. Fiefdom hoga ya nahi hoga, that's a question which we have to still wait for. If things are handled correctly, if people somehow there is a leadership which comes and galvanizes this country, although it's a miracle, then we may not have fiefdoms. Otherwise, you're right. Sindh will Sindh will walk its own way. Baluchistan will walk its own way. KPK will walk its own way. It will become from a nation. It will become loosely knit provinces with some kind of military
Stitch. Yeah,
superimposition over them by the Pakistanis. And the day that stitching goes off, they'll start breaking.
true. Herald of Chaos, thank you so much. Given the rough terrain in and around the Pir Panjals, how vital are the locals in countering infiltrators? Dad was a part of 15 Corps back in the 2000s. He considered them the most vital link.
You see, on this, I must tell you that what was way back in 2000, early 2000, the situation has changed quite a bit. The locals are definitely not as radicalized as they were at that point in time. Even in that time frame, the Pahadis, I'm talking of the Gujars, etc., were actually supporting the security forces in conduct of their operation. Of late, there have been some incidents in Rajouri, Poonch, and Kokarnag areas
Yeah,
where we did have a surge in the incidents, but I attribute them to forced cooperation, not a willing cooperation. And by that, what I mean was that, the people were not willing to come across and wage a terrorist activity. So what possibly they started doing was that, they started getting foreign terrorists, back, because Afghanistan problem had got resolved. There were a lot of these groups, I mean, people who had gone across to the western frontier to fight for independence of Afghanistan. They had all reverted back to the country. I mean, reverted back to Pakistan. So these guys were possibly mixed up, and then they were used for infiltration. Some reports also say that Pakistani retired military personnel from their special forces, etc., were also inducted as part of these groups to carry out these attacks, and that is why the pattern was different. Earlier, we used to have more number of incidents along the LC. This time, you found that they went deep, and attacks were in hinterland. And the reason for that, again, I must tell you, is the gray zone.
yeah.
There is this element of deniability if something happens deeper inside your territory. They would say, अगर होना होता तो infiltration में पता चल जाना था आपको. At least one encounter we should have had in LC. There have
And
been no
that, by the way,
encounters.
that also, by the way, works both sides.
Yeah, I mean, you can say so, but what I'm saying is that this is the advantage of gray zone. No? You can twist the argument as per your own convenience.
Yeah.
So the locals, to my mind, are with the security forces, with the country, with India. Forced compliance, forced coerced cooperation cannot be ruled out.
Absolutely.
On a gunpoint, I mean, it's some people then have to be forced. They get forced to cooperate.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Parth Vasudevji, thank you so much for becoming a member. Sarmila ji, some Pakistani channels state that PMLN is also doubting about leading the formation of government there. How much truth is this? Does this news have? Obviously, I mean, I think they would be
You
nervous.
see,
They didn't get the mandate.
this I already covered. That
Yeah,
some people are saying that Nawaz Sharif has lost out. I would say he's been very sensible. He says, I dare not touch this government with Bajpol. This is not going to survive. So let Sabaj do the bidding. Let him
बचे तू
struggle
जा.
around as he was struggling around with the previous PDM one, so-called PDM one. This is not even a PDM.
Yeah.
This is not even a PDM. It is just they are calling it a government of national unity government or something of that nature.
हमने
They are
बात
trying to say.
last week we spoke about this national unity
And I,
government बनाएंगे.
and I covered it that this is probably the only option they have to
Yeah,
uh, to tell the people or tell the world that they are, they are very fair in the response to the. But these guys must behave, na, as part of. I mean, they must behave as national unity government. Not say that I'm going to support from outside. That's not a national unity government. National unity government means
yeah,
everybody has a stake in it. They all take part in it. Everybody has some ministerial portfolio, so that they are responsible for what they're doing. You can't turn
true.
around and say, कि, look, I am supporting from outside. Issue based है. जब मन करेगा मैं तुमको थप्पड़ मारूंगा, जब मन करेगा सपोर्ट करूंगा. That can't happen. That's not a national unity government.
Yeah, true, sir. Venkata Saab says in the last 6 months to 1 year, Pakistan has lost more than 1,000 army and other ISI or other commandos. What do you feel? Their official figures are very interesting. They say officially we've lost 40 army soldiers a month. And funnily speaking, they
See,
put a small little this thing addendum there and say बाकी जो losses हुए हैं वो FC के हुए हैं. So what are they now saying? FC is not part of the army?
see, the security forces as such, if you take, I had given these figures in my previous shows also. This time I don't have those figures readily available with me, but 60 to 70% casualties now amongst the people killed is of the security forces, and Pak army has taken the maximum beating. So you're true. I mean, I won't go by the numbers exactly what you're saying, because the last I checked was it was around 500 or something, but I don't think it can would have reached 1,000 as such. But they are very large numbers, highest since 2013. This is what I remember from my last show. So there
True,
have been major losses as far as Pakistan army is concerned.
true. Talk Super Tank, thanks so much. He says, is it even humanly possible to keep Pakistan together? That's a good question, man.
It's not humanly possible, but definitely by force they will try to keep it together.
True. Jagpreet Batra ji says, General Sir, Pakistan was like an artificial island built by China, slowly sinking into the oblivion.
No, I slightly disagree with you, Mr. Jagpreet. It was an artificial island created by the West when the partition took
Yeah.
place between
Well,
India and when the partition of India took place, and it
no,
was
he's saying
created.
it is like the islands built by the Chinese. It's not
Okay,
built by
okay.
Chinese.
Sorry. I think I did not take that point. You're right.
Ha,
It is an artificial island because we keep saying it's an artificial country.
ji,
It's a country not created by civilizational linkage. It is a country not created by cultural linkages. It is a country created by religion of people of different cultures, different behaviors, different methods of living. Sindhis live in a different style. Punjabis live in a different style. The Pathans live in a different style, totally disparate from each other. Whereas in India, you would find that, if you are praying, let's say you take example of, say, Ramayana only. Ramayana exists in across the board, but maybe in different forms. But
yeah,
everybody talks about it. Somebody tells Balaji, somebody says something to Hanuman. So point which I'm trying to make is the puja paddhati is minor variations are there, but by and large, the method of, there is a civilizational connect to what is in India, and we never emphasized on religion as the basis of this country. We always emphasized on civilization as the basis for this country, and that's the difference between the two.
true. Adi
Officially
sir,
they recognize religion as the basis of country. We don't do that.
yeah. So Pakistan will be able to form a government, or Pakistan will be able to will move into a civil war.
I think they will form a government. Initially they will try to move in, they will try to get a ragtag formation going for 6 7 months, buy some time, and then possibly, if this fails, then it could be the happy situation for Munir to walk in and take over. Civil war, you need little more. You need little more
Yeah, yeah, gumption
leadership.
to that.
That's not there. The leadership is not there of the kind, if we had Imran Khan's four, five of them with the same kind of following, then you would have had definitely some kind of
True.
civil war.
Rajesh Agrawal ji says, was water being pushed into the missiles in China only? I think they pushed it into Pakistani nukes as well. Looking at the reaction to the Iranian strikes, I won't be very surprised, sir.
Anyway,
Okay, Abhishek Samant says, sir, just does the deep state also have any hand in funding the TTP? If not, who's giving them money besides the Afghans? Also, why is the world's best army failing so miserably against them?
it's the way they fight. It's the way they fight. See, uh, the Pakistan army is a conventional force. They really never had this need to fight a guerrilla forces in their entire existence till they had this problem on their western front, right? Whereas for India, we have had this problem right since our independence, whether it was in the
Yep,
northeast, whether it was in the Punjab, JNK, all over. LW, we have developed a proper, I think, method to fight, a strategy to fight, a tactics to fight such operations. We fight with human consideration. They are our own people. We fight the idea which they are representing. We are not fighting the people who are there. So our approach is more balanced. Our approach is to defeat the idea. Our approach is to defeat the elements which are radicalized. Our approach is not to oppress the common public of that area.
yep,
And that is why, I mean, by and large, this is our strategy. Whenever you have hard power being used, there would be certain amount of operations which take place, but we take actions. We take prompt action against such erring activities uh, as per the rule of law.
true.
There are umpteen examples where we have, in fact, the defense forces have been more forthright. They are upfront uh, in investigating such cases and taking punitive action, whereas the civilian courts have subsequently or later on pardoned them. So as far as the Indian defense forces are concerned, I think that is why they are held in such high esteem.
True, sir. Absolutely. No question. Karthik ji, thank you so much for becoming a member. Last three questions, sir. Akash ji, I expect we would be at an equivalent of the US DEFCON 2 or DEFCON 3 along the LOCIB. Swift and firm response is the order of the day. Your views, sir.
Okay, I will answer this question with a email which I got, and I had a long, one of our viewers sent me an email saying that there is this feeling going around in the environment that the senior officers are more cautious, they are unwilling to take bold actions, etc., etc. Right? I am of the opinion that senior officers bring in with them experience. They consider various other factors which are involved when they take an action. They would take into consideration the escalations which can take place by any unthought about, uncalculated activities or actions or events, which may then land the entire country into a kind of a situation from where it will be very difficult to withdraw. Take the example of Russia and Ukraine. Take the example of Israel and Hamas. I mean, there are a number of such places where people don't know how to get out of it. So when we take an action, we know that we should take an action, how much we should take an action, and can it be dealt with other ways. If you, I mean, just open your eyes and ears, and you will find that India is dealing with them in the right way. There are methods to deal with them, and I think we are doing it also.
I think
What's
one thing
happening
that
in Afghanistan? What's happening in Afghanistan? Why is Afghanistan becoming such a daredevil country that it starts, bro beating Pakistan? So let's wait and watch. Look
yeah,
at what is happening to Pakistan inside. I'm not saying we are going inside and doing something. We are just supporting people for the right cause.
and secondly,
Moral
most
support,
importantly,
diplomatic
the
support, moral, हाँ.
escalation ladder का कंट्रोल आपके हाथ में होना चाहिए, दूसरे के हाथ में थोड़ी होना चाहिए.
Activity when you start, you must have the ability to stop it as per
Exactly.
your desired objective having been achieved.
A
The
good
idea
war
of
plan. Yeah.
yeah, the idea of notion of victory must be clear in your mind before you undertake an action.
Yes. A good war plan must always include an exit strategy.
And
If you don't
and
have that,
do
that's a bad war plan.
yeah, and do we really need to go to war?
No,
Can we not take the revenge some other ways? How do you know that revenge has not been taken? Do we want to
true, sir.
publicly state anything?
No,
What will we achieve? We'll achieve, yes, when if needed to state publicly, we will do that. This is an election year, it's an expenditure heavy year. We have to take everything into consideration before I think the government really wishes to take any action. The mandate is coming to an end. It will be a defensive phase as far as India is concerned. But yes, when pushed to the wall, we will definitely take an action. We are not
absolutely, sir.
afraid. We are firm. We know how to deal with the situation, and I'm sure the Indian Army is doing, or Indian Defense Forces are doing, or taking the right steps to deal with these situations.
True, sir. Second last question, sir. Kapil ji says, how can we counter this Aman ki Asha going on with Pakistani YouTubers lobby who are brainwashing our youngsters?
You see, this is a danger of information warfare. uh, what we see as as some kind of a acceptance that Pakistanis have somewhere surrendered to Indian growth and Indian growth story, praising India all over. It's just to put you in a lull, just to just to just to get an internal divide within your country that look, the Pakistanis are keen to mend ways. Till the time, where is the power in Pakistan? Tell me this. Will you achieve
Pa-
anything by discussing with Nawaz Sharif, or for that matter Shahbaz Sharif, or Kakad, or Imran Khan? The power is in Pakistan army and establishment's hand. So unless something visible is seen on ground, and these actors are seen to be relenting, India should consider all these activities as part of information warfare to lull us into this kind of internal, movements taking place to make amends with Pakistan, give Aman ki Asha a chance. I think the current government is taking a good step. Terrorism and talks don't go together. Till the time the powers that be in Pakistan, the center of gravity of Pakistan, like number of people say, Hafnan had said that day, there is only one political party in Pakistan, and that is Pakistan Army. So once, it's not even Pakistan Air Force, it's not even Pakistan Navy, it's Pakistan Army and Pakistan Army Chief. Has anyone heard the name of Sirius, Chief of Joint Staff of Pakistan?
है
Start
एक
looking at
एक है
Mirza. Mirza.
मिर्जा.
He was to be the chief, but last minute फेर बदल किया, and Munir became the chief. If that फेर बदल had not taken place, people would have remembered his name, not Munir's name. Why do people only talk of Munir and not even they don't even refer to Pakistan? They just say Munir. Munir ने ये बोला था.
Hmm.
So that's the image they have created for themselves. So
जी.
unless this actor character called Munir bends on his four hands and comes to India and say that make amends, I think we should not agree to it.
True, sir.
We should not take cognizance of these things.
True, sir. Adi, Jai Hind, why
You,
can't we create a system of mass communication to raise our voice at granular level to global level against these forces anti-India, as they have tech population and global footprint?
we should have written as we have technology, population, and global footprint.
Yeah,
Absolutely right. We should do it. That's our weakness, and I accept it. That social information warfare has been the weakness even of the Israelis. I think there is a need for this, and slowly we are catching up on this issue. And I think necessary steps are being taken to, but the results are not going to be seen so fast. The environment, the plans in India are also now afoot to ensure that information war becomes part and parcel of the integrated national uh, approach towards threats from our adversaries, how they have to be unfolded, etc. Like I say, India has the talent. You're right. All the political parties have a very very strong information wing,
IT cell.
IT cell, information wing. So why not the country? So we do have the talent. We only need to uh, we only need to focus upon it and unleash it. And
Yeah,
it's being done also. It's being done also.
absolutely, sir.
Adi's channel is doing something similar, I suppose.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for
I
that
mean, we are
compliment.
trying to we are trying to bring out facts in the true perspective. So therefore, people should realize what is right and what is wrong.
True. नहीं sir, what you said is absolutely correct. And as a matter of fact, I think मेरा एक इसके अंदर एक थोड़ा सा I have a little bit of a different take, in the sense, uh, we need to find a new way to do information warfare, because the mainstream media, the newspapers, this that is gone. People don't recognize that anymore. So if you need to reach the masses, the way of doing this information warfare has to be different.
Yeah,
And that, I think, we need to probably sit down and study and see what the best mode would be. If it is YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that, fantastic, let's do that. But it has to
yeah.
be studied. It has to be, the impact needs to be studied. I think, sir, I also wanted to um, uh, you know update people, if you don't mind, on your fantastic new position and what you're doing. So if you can tell us about that as well, so that we
I'll
can pass
I'll
our congratulations, or
I'll
is
I'll
it
I'll,
still not the right time?
I'll, I'll, I'll refrain from it.
Okay, fair enough, no problem. So the reason that the thought process of a narrative warfare needs to be done is looking at what the receptive factors are. Who's receiving that information warfare? Who's on the target? एंड उसके हिसाब से हमको बनाना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल से, यार हमारे पास अल जजीरा क्यों नहीं है? आई डोंट थिंक वी शुड हैव अल जजीरा एनी मोर. सो योर व्यूज ऑन दिस, सर?
Yeah, I see. We need not ape anything which is outside. One, we have to see our conditions. One good thing about India is that uh, the our one of the adversaries at least speaks almost the similar language, right? So whatever we speak, they lap it, and whatever they speak, we lap it.
Yep.
What we need to do is create a narrative which is more balanced, more correct, more nearer the truth, so that people start then looking at those mediums, those channels, those resources, to say अगर यार सही situation पता करनी है ना, तो listen to that guy. Otherwise, I was seeing the other day a YouTube floating from Pakistan, where they have said, I mean, that Major Saab, he's a retired major, he has said that Pakistan army apprehended some 300 odd Pakistani army lady wives, kept them in a
Uh,
mess, and then interrogated them whole night, and without their husband being present there. Now, such like things uh, are fraught with danger. Whether they are true, whether they are not true. So that is why you will find me. I always give a very balanced perspective. Let's see more concrete steps on the ground and then talk about it. It's easy to get
Most important.
viewership, but it is very important to tell the right thing. If you're not sure about something, just admit that I'm not very sure, I'm not very clear. Circumstantially it may be pointing towards that, and that's it. That is, you can also make the same kind of assessment. So my
Absolutely.
my my take is that uh, let's become a saner voice in the information war. That should be our narrative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I
You
think
will find that
that's very well put,
you
sir.
and you will find that people will watch you.
Yeah, very well put. And another most important thing is consistency. I mean, I'm not boasting, but my little chat, I've got a very small platform. But जब भी हम लोग पाकिस्तान के बारे में कुछ बोलते हैं, I see reactions. As a matter of fact, yesterday I put out a pretty hard, I don't normally do that, a very hard comment on the farmers' protest. And I got reactions from both the sides. Uh, I got people who were telling me, you're not a farmer, you've not done a day of work in your life. I mean, I wanted to tell him, welcome to my life, buddy. Let's figure that out. But
Yeah,
it's very interesting that we are able to actually reach people. I guess something we need to uh, think about, sir. And I think we could you and I could actually do a talk on this. How could India's future information war should be designed, and what could be the factors that we could look at it, and how do we influence and stuff like that. And
that's a very
information
important
warfare,
topic.
yeah, yeah.
It's
So
my
we could probably,
it's it's my PhD thesis.
I didn't know that, sir. But fantastic. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
But sir, thanks so much for this very insightful discussion. Pakistan is, as you said, I think I'm going to quote you again, that discussing internal problems of Pakistan is a waste of time, but discussing what Pakistan can do is very important.
yeah.
And what can happen to Pakistan is very, very important. So let's never forget that. It doesn't matter who sits on that bloody chair. It doesn't matter who's the foreign minister, because their thought processes and their hate towards us will always remain. On that note, sir, thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you. Jai Hind.